the interests of workers, customers, and entrepreneurs, not the interests of large corporations, are essential to the Conservative Party of Canada. And that is how we are looking upon the proposed transaction involving Shaw and Rogers Communications. This massive deal would create a company worth $50 billion with $20 billion of revenue, 33,000 employees, and almost 13 million wireless customers. It would have been, before COVID, a big deal for our economy and for our people. After COVID, it's even more essential because remote work from home arrangements mean that a good internet connection will not only be desirable, but necessary to hold down a job. Many employers are not only going to allow workers to operate from their home offices, but require it. As we've discovered throughout COVID, much of our work can be done remotely. Those communities lacking affordable, high-speed internet will be at a massive, insurmountable disadvantage. That's why it's absolutely essential that those communities and all Canadians have access to high-speed, affordable internet. Now, normally, the free market system forces companies to compete for workers with better wages and compete for customers with better prices and products. But we don't have a free market in telecommunications. We have a protected, regulated oligarchy, a small group of players who are protected by a regulatory regime, largely controlled out of Ottawa, serve our population. Now, let's be honest, this model has not particularly performed well. We have among the highest prices and among the poorest coverage in the developed world. In fact, many countries in the developing world have better prices and better coverage than we do. We can do better in Canada than we have so far. But when a deal of this magnitude comes along, because there is not a free market, it is the job of government, with the oversight of Parliament, to protect workers and customers and not corporate interests. That's why I'm announcing today that Conservatives are triggering hearings by the Industry Committee on this proposed transaction so that we can hear from communities, customers, entrepreneurs, workers, and others who will be affected by the transaction. Now, while Conservatives have not had enough time to study the full implications of this newly announced proposal, and therefore we're not able to pronounce for or against, what I can tell you is the principle that will guide us, and it is a single principle, and that is customers, workers first, not the corporate interests of a few players. We will listen to everybody and all sides, and then we as Conservatives will take a stand in favor or against this transaction based on that one principle. Thank you very much, and I now welcome any questions or comments.
And we'll now take questions, starting with questions on the phone. A quick reminder, as usual, one question, one follow-up per reporters. Nous allons maintenant prendre les questions, en commençant par les questions au téléphone. Un petit rappel, comme à l'habitude, une question suivie par journaliste. Opérateur, avons-nous une première question?
Please press star one at this time if you have a question. S'il vous plaît, appuyez sur étoile 1 maintenant pour poser une question. Et la première question, the first question, is from Kate Bolongaro with Bloomberg. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Hello, Mr. Poilievre. I'm wondering what exactly you would like the government to do to make the telecom sector overall more available for Canadians to have this low-cost internet and better service that you're talking about that's important to the Conservative Party.
We think that the system should engender more competition so that the big players have to do more to please customers. In a market economy, businesses have to delight customers if they want to stay in business. Unfortunately, we don't have a free market economy in telecom, and therefore a protected, regulated monopoly is able to oligopoly is able to underperform. We'd like to see more competition to fight for customers in this country. We also want to see investment in rural and remote communities that thus far have been underserved by high-speed wireless and cellular coverage. Those are the things that I think would most advance the interest of Canadian customers and workers. How to do that? Well, that's one of the reasons why we want to have committee hearings. Let's get all the players in the room and come up with a solution so that we can once again lead the world in technological advancement and quality of life.
Follow-up?
Yeah, I'm just wondering because I know that one of the things that former Prime Minister Stephen Harper had put forward was this rule of four companies operating in this space. And I'm wondering for you as in the Conservative Party now, how do you see three players in this market impacting competitiveness in the market?
Well, I'm not accepting as a foregone conclusion that we're only going to have three players. Let's start with that. First of all, this deal is not yet approved, and second of all, even if it is, it's no guarantee that it will be approved in a way that allows for the number of competitors to drop to three. So let's get the committee together and see if there are some other options that will allow for competition to go forward. We continue to believe that 4 competitors is better than 3. More competition is always better for both workers and customers. And those are the principles that will guide Conservatives in these hearings.
Operator, next question.
Once again, please press star 1. If you have questions, de nouveau, n'hésitez pas à appuyer sur étoile 1 pour toute question. There are no questions on the phone at this time. Il n'y a pas de questions au téléphone pour l'instant.
Lieber Thium, Canadian Press. Thanks for talking to us, sir. I wanted to ask, given concerns the deal will lead to potentially higher prices and possible layoffs, including in Western Canada, what orders or protections do you want as Conservatives to see the federal government put in place as a condition for approving this deal?
Well, what we've said as Conservatives, given the agreement, the proposed deal has only been announced in less than 24 hours ago. We have just laid out a single principle that the interests of customers and workers must come first, and that the deal should only be approved if it meets that test. We will listen to the two companies, Shaw and Rogers, tell us how combining forces would allow them to do that. But we'll also listen to their competitors and customers who may have contrary views. And once we've got all the data and the information, we'll take an informed position in the public interest.
Alberta Premier Jason Kenney yesterday said he'd like commitments for jobs, especially in the Calgary regional headquarters for Shaw, as conditions for approving this deal. Do you support? I guess maybe the bigger question is, do you support conditions? Should the government be looking at some type of conditions to protect, as you say, jobs, consumers, et cetera?
There always must be conditions in telecom. All of the decisions that large telecom companies make have to come with conditions, because this is, as I said earlier, a protected, regulated oligopoly. The only way in such an environment, to uphold the interests of workers and customers is through conditions. I can't imagine any scenario where the industry minister, CRTC, and the Competition Bureau would allow this to go ahead without there being some conditions. The question is, what are they, and whether the proposed transaction is approved at all.